Hey guys, welcome to another BLDBRO YouTube video. Hope you've been enjoying our content this week on Instagram. We've been discussing Brave the Shave. So talking about the first time that we actually braved the shave, took the clippers out, took the razor out and went for it. Richard, you did a really nice post about when you first did it. Do you want to start us off?
Bloody long one, that's what it was, compared to you guys. Yeah, I don't mind. Yeah, so my journey was a little bit different to both of yours. Like T, you did the Propecia, didn't you? And you didn't take your journey until last year. And Ben, you were pretty comfortable with it from the get-go, but I had a complete mare, didn't I? Let's be honest. And that's one of the reasons why we decided on setting up the page and trying to help people like me who had a real tough time. Yeah, so I just went for it, which in hindsight was a ridiculous thing to do. I didn't have to brave the shave at the point that I did, and I just hated it. It was like going from 0 to 60. Yeah, so I just really struggled. It wasn't liberating for me in the slightest, and it just added to the stress even more. And it just went on and on and on, hiding behind the hats until I found what made me comfortable, which I could have done at the get-go, which was to have a wet head shave. But I guess the reason I didn't do that was because I was scared of it, scared of the look, scared of the connotations that came with it, how it's perceived in society, I think, which is crazy to think of. But when I first shaved my head, the older generation, like my nan, they were horrified. She couldn't understand why I did it, but that all just comes down to the negativity, I guess, which surrounds it, and which is something that has got to change.
Isn't it interesting though that you hid it away for so long, and yet the difference between a dry shave with an electric razor and a wet shave is like 0.5 millimeter. Yeah. But yet it changed everything for you. It was like you were a new person afterwards.
Yeah, because it just made it look even more so that I wasn't going bald, in my opinion, because it looked like it was my choice to be that way. Whereas with the clippers, it always looked like I was receding and I was losing my hair. It never got short enough, but as you say, just that tiny little bit just gives you that confidence, and to just walk out there, stand there and be proud. But it's crazy. But the crazy thing was the fact that I was scared to do that. But
I think it's like taking control of the situation, because beforehand you felt maybe that people saw you as receding, and that was something that you weren't in control of. And when you wet shaved, there was no receding hair there, because there was no hair at all. No hair. So that meant that you had actually taken control of the situation. And I think that's a big one for people with their insecurities, when they're actually feeling in charge of their body again.
Yeah, 100%.
So, yeah. How long? What about you, T?
Well, I just wanted to carry on with Rich a bit. I mean, how long were you just shaving with the electric before you switched?
Oh, Christ! Well, I went to the barbers first of all to get it done, and I had a number 2, and like I hated it completely. So after I went to the barbers,
around or like half?
All the way over. Like I went from the full head of hair, like long hair, to no hair, like straight down to number 2, and I hated it. I even went to the shop after the barbers. I went to Argus and just bought some clippers so I could instantly take it shorter. And even on the shortest setting, it didn't make me feel comfortable. But I didn't even consider giving it a wet shave because of the whole how that look is perceived. Like I think I mentioned it before in like a video when we first started doing them, basically, that when I shaved my head, I think it was around the time that This Is England was coming out and skinhead culture was back in the mainstream media, and it was, I don't know, it's just, again, it's always in your head and it isn't what people actually think. And then you create like this crazy thing in your mind, which isn't how people perceive you. But I thought if I had a wet shave head, like a full-on skinhead, then people would think, oh, he's a thug. Yeah, and I like, yeah, you know where I'm coming from. It's crazy, isn't it?
How was the process of shaving your head with a wet shave the first time? Like, obviously we're not experts from the get-go. Or did you get it done in the barbershop?
It was, as I said, like Ben had bought these clippers. Well, you didn't even know what you were buying at the time. You said, didn't you, Ben? You thought that's a good price, and you went for it. And it was like an electric shaver for your face. And when you put it on your head, it gave that wet shave look. But obviously, it takes like ages to do it with the electric one to what it does with just using a razor. And it was just from that point really, and then you just get into it, and then you work out the best way to do it. For Ben, he's there in the shower, bish bash bosh. I'm in front of the mirror, and yeah.
So how long does it
you said at the beginning that like I was confident from the get-go with it. I wasn't. I just hid it behind hats. So although I may have seemed confident, I wasn't. I was hiding my insecurities behind a hat. And it took me a long time to actually, get rid of the hats and embrace the way I look, and actually, like you, start shaving it really, really short, and then being comfortable with that. And the reason that maybe you thought I was comfortable with it was because I didn't come to you and have sort of a heartfelt conversation about it.
Yeah.
But it was something
that cried into your arms.
Yeah, but it was something that I did have insecurities about. But I think the difference was, for me, I always knew that it was going to happen, so I had started to accept it from quite a young age, because my dad's got no hair, my mum's got very thin hair, so I always knew that it was something that was going to happen. So I was able to process that. Whereas with you, you didn't expect it. So I think that was maybe the shock of going from someone who thought they were going to have hair their whole life and had long hair, to then going to the barbers and having a number two. I mean, I wish I could have seen your face, but
oh man,
quite a big difference.
Yeah, it's just a huge shock, isn't it? At the end of the day, but
and yeah. even if it was now going from long hair to wet shaving it, you still might not have liked it. It would have been such a big difference. So maybe going backwards, you could have started to cut it shorter and shorter, and there are other ways around it.
I just didn't know what to do. Like there isn't what we're trying to create here, that a platform where you could go to for advice to know how to get through it. So there's many things in hindsight now that I would have done to prepare to that point. But I just didn't know what to do. So, I was a bull at a gate and just went for it that way. But so hopefully, with what we're trying to put together here, people will know what to do and learn from our mistakes almost, and look at different points of view, and, choose the right thing for them.
But it's also not necessary, because we've all ended up going with wet shaving, right? So like we don't have any hair, but that's not necessarily what people need to do. Maybe the number 2 or number 1 and 2 looks good for people, It's not like we're not trying to say do as we do.
Just, 100%.
Just sharing the experience, because I mean I see some bald guys who do like let a bit of the hair grow out, and it looks quite distinguished.
I mean, my dad rocks the horseshoe and he bosses it with pride. He doesn't give a shit. So I can't do it. I'm not ready to do the horseshoe. But I quite, I really like the way that my head looks now. So, and I think in that era, it was far more unacceptable to have a shaved head. Like I couldn't imagine my dad with a wet shaved head. It just wouldn't feel right. It wouldn't suit him, I don't think. So yeah, it's kind of up to you, isn't it? And it's whatever makes you feel most comfortable. That's the most important thing.
That's it, Ben. 100%. Whatever you feel the most comfortable in your skin and allows you to feel confident is the route that you should go down, and that's exactly what you should do.
How
if
about
you
you two? What
have a
was
full
your
skinhead and a little bit just curling out off the top, I mean, if that's what makes you feel good, you roll with it.
I mean, there's no way I could grow that now. there's nothing
I
going on.
might be able to just get a little bit, like a little stripe. Maybe I could still get a little mohawk all the way down.
Yeah, it would be like the waviest mohawk.
Get like a bit of Weetabix crushed on
Yeah.
top of a.
How about you two? What was your because you braved the shave pretty recently, right?
Yeah. So I used to have long hair also like Rich, but I didn't go straight from that into this. I started having my hair short, basically, even a half, like 0.5, 1, maybe 4 on top. And that was for a long time, and I was taking Propecia. So it was a good thickness, and that was just it. So I was used to having hair quite close to the head anyway. When about 2 years ago, I noticed, just not in the mirror or someone pointed out, but even despite taking Propecia, like a slight thinning had occurred. And I thought, well, there's no point taking this anymore then. You know, for me, it was kind of all or nothing. It's like, okay, I've either got it or I don't. So that the mindset changed then. And then, last lockdown, I was couldn't go to the barber to get my normal haircut. I'd stopped taking Propecia. So although it hadn't really shown yet in the thinning process, that was definitely happening. So I thought, what a better time than ever to do it. So my friend actually did it for me with a pair of those, like the electric clippers. And it was quite funny because we did like a really tight grade here and then just half a grade more. So I had this like line down the side of my head where the depth of hair changed slightly, and for some reason I thought that was okay, but it was still really, really short, but it sort of like was kind of a monk's top on. But luckily I managed to get rid of that by the time that first lockdown ended.
See, it's so funny that you said that. That's exactly how I used to do it when I initially started. I'd be like on the purest zero, just all on the sides, and then I'd just take it up a little bit, not put an attachment on, but just make it that little bit longer, just on the top. Just in case my hair decided to grow back, like, it'll be all right. Yeah. Because if you take it all away, I mean, it's never coming back, is it? Like, it's mad how you have that in your head.
Well, I was thinking about it when I stopped doing that, which was only a couple of days after first doing it. I was like, what effect is this really having? It's not like grading an actual haircut. It's just giving me a sort of strange line in the side of my head. So there's no point in that. And then I must have gone with the clippers for a good few months, really, because I wasn't ready because you don't know how to wet shave. No one teaches you how to shave your head. And I'm a notoriously bad shaver anyway. I'm still terrible. Like, I have to go over a few times when I shave with the beard. So it was a while, but then I think once I tried a good razor and I saw like that clean, when you shave your head with the normal electric razor, it feels good. But when you do it with the wet shave, I mean, there's a feeling that comes with it. You feel really fresh, you feel really clean. And it still takes me quite a while. I have no idea how to do it. And I've always like left a little bit here or there or whatever. But for me, it's a much nicer feeling. And I've only really started doing that in the last few months. Tried out a few different razors, finding out which works for me, which one I'm comfortable using, whether like the normal style or the more handheld. And just getting on with it. But I mean, I shaved this morning with a new razor and absolutely loved it. And it becomes quite fun, like trying out different shave gels, blades and stuff, and what works for you. And then,
you didn't really suffer from the kind of insecurities surrounding it because you accepted it and you just thought, right, I'm just going to go for it.
Well, I suffered for 10 years. Well, for the couple of years where I started balding, and it was like we talked about it before, it was like obsessive thought on the mind, and worry about it. Then when I sort of semi-dealt with it with the Propecia, I stopped worrying about it. And then it came to this secondary process of, okay, shall I go through with it and stop the drugs and shave the head? And then you start worrying about it again. And you start having like I started asking people. I asked my uncle, I asked friends, and again, an outlet such as this, which would have given me that reassurance, would have been useful. I mean, I like you, Ben, it's not that there was no worries at all. I was, when I did shave it a year or so ago, I was really worried what people would think. Like that, what are people going to think of this? Nothing to do with skinhead and stuff like that. It was more just, do I still look young? Am I still, or like, will anyone find me attractive? Things like that. So all that was going through my head. But really quickly, you kind of forget. And I think that's the beauty about sort of the braving the shave that we're talking about, is that those worries just disappear and you realize, hang on, anyone that's important to me hasn't changed their opinion, and therefore I'm not going to worry about it anymore. And that's it. So there definitely was worry, and even after doing it, but now not at all. I forget that I'm like, I don't forget that I'm bald, but I forget like people even think bald is a thing.
Yeah.
What about you?
Yeah. Do you think you benefited from, you know, doing it at an older age than, you know, so how many years would it have been? How long did you take Propecia for?
I can't even remember, probably a side effect, but like at least 10.
At least 10. Okay. Yeah. So
yeah, I mean,
in those 10 years, obviously you've matured more, like you've got more rationale in your head, and, you know, do you reckon the fact that you were older helped you deal with it a bit better?
Definitely.
Because we get a lot of people reach out to us on the page who are who are in their late teens, early 20s, and, you know, it is like it was for me. It was really, really hard to digest.
Well, I think so, because at that age, I wouldn't even consider the fact that there were options, that I didn't care about the side effects or whatever would happen. I just went for the alternate option as to going bald. So, and I still had that option now. So maybe it is that maturity that said, okay, you know what, this doesn't matter. I'm just going to go with it. And that was due to a level of maturity that I didn't have before. But also, I mean, maturity, confidence is one, and also like understanding interrelationships with your peers. So back then, maybe you care, I mean, you always care what people think, at least as much as we try not to, or say we don't, but you always do. Maybe when you're younger, you care much more, especially in an environment like university, if it's happening to you or university, where you're surrounded by people that you don't even have the choice about who's around you and what they're going to say. So yeah, there's a big difference, but I think, I mean, it's hard to say. It would be interesting to see, I mean, like you, what people who did it much earlier, how quickly the confidence came back.
I mean, I started losing my hair, I would say, in my sort of late teens, and that was like I was the only one out of my whole school to start losing my hair. So that was like quite. I remember thinking, you know, shit, here we go, because I knew it was inevitable. So I already knew that I was going to lose my hair, but I wasn't maybe expecting it to start going that quick. And I realized that, you know, I experimented with lots of different haircuts and things when I was younger, and that probably didn't help my my hair, to be honest. At one point, I had it bleached blonde with brown leopard spots in it.
I remember that.
Yeah. So
sorry, guys, my battery's just going to go here. I need to grab a charger.
I didn't do myself any favors, to be honest with you, with my hair. But when it started falling out from the back first. And I would start noticing it when I bent down. People started commenting on it. So I just shaved it off, but I used electric clippers. Like Richard, I didn't even think that, you know, wet shaving it was an option. It was just, that seemed a bit crazy and extreme. And so I used to wear a lot of hats to cover it up. But then that had problems in itself, you know, because I became so familiar and used to wearing a hat. There'd be times where I'd be going to like a restaurant and I'd be like, oh, I don't want to take my hat off. But then, you know, it's rude to keep your hat on and weird to keep your hat on in a restaurant, or like wearing a woolly hat when it's sunny, and you're like, oh, and people are like, why are you wearing a hat? And then you take it off, and then people are like, oh, look at your hair, because you've been wearing your hat so long. People aren't used to you seeing it. So it kind of, it's a catch-22 situation, and you're basically just covering yourself up and hiding away, which is what I did. And then I think I went to a fancy dress party as Ming the Merciless. Do you remember that guy, the baddie from like, back in the 80s with like the big eyebrows?
Flash
and, yeah, and I absolutely loved it. Like, I properly bicked my head for that. And I remember just going around this party. I mean, I was really drunk, but I was loving it. I was loving being this character. And that after that, I kind of thought, well, it's not much different from having it with using the electric shaver anyway. And so I just thought, oh, I'll just do it again. And then I remember the feeling, like you said, Tariq, when you're in the shower, it's so clean, it's so much quicker. When you're using electric clippers, you're getting all the stubble everywhere, all the bits of hair all over your neck, it gets itchy. You've got to have a shower after anyway. But when I used this razor, it was just like whoosh, whoosh. It was so quick around the head. And I loved it. I loved the way it looked. I loved the way it felt. So I started doing that more and more. And it's funny because, you know, if you leave it for a few days anyway, you get that kind of look that an electric shaver has anyway, because after it starts to grow through. But it's just quicker, cleaner, and more efficient to use a wet shaver. So I just carried on doing that. And the more that I did that, the less I started wearing my hats. And I remember making a conscious effort, saying to myself, right, I need to stop. I'm only going to wear a hat if I need to, not just to cover myself up. So if it was sunny, I would wear a cap. If it was cold, I'd wear a beanie. But if it was just a normal day, I was hanging out with mates, I was like, right, no, I'm not going to take it out. And that did take a bit of courage at first. But then when I got used to it, I just kind of started forgetting about the hat. And then I was so much more comfortable just in everyday situations. And I completely forgot about all of the anxiety and stuff that I had before. So yeah, that's kind of my experience with braving the shave. And now I'd never go back to an electric shaver. I'm always going to use a wet shaver, and I just love it.
And how often, I know some people have asked us actually how often we do shave our heads. So how often do you do it then?
I do it sort of once every 2, sometimes once every 3 days. Sometimes, I mean, lockdown, sometimes I've been leaving it a bit longer because, you know, I'm just at home and I don't really care. But then if I know I'm going to see people, or if it's been 2 or 3 days, I can start to feel it, I just whip it off. It only takes like 2-3 minutes, if that, in the shower. So it's just part of my routine now.
And I noticed when I first did it and I still had more hair here, I would let it go out longer because it still kind of looked all right. But then as time's gone on, I need to up the frequency. So I'm at about once a day now.
Yeah.
I'm every other day, and if it gets to the third day, like, well, when it's the shave day, I'm looking at it and I'm thinking to myself, God, I'm bald, I'm looking old, and you know, straight off, like I can't leave it any longer than that.
It does make a big difference. Like if you, and I guess it's just the way you feel, but it's also the way you look. Like when you wet shave it, you're just completely bald and that's it. There's no stubble. You can't see the hairline. You feel great. You feel clean. You feel good. You look great with sunglasses. Some people like to rock a beard. Some people, you know, like to be shaved all over their face. But yeah, I think it's a liberating experience when you do it for the first time.
Sure is.
Well, I was straight onto you too, wasn't I? But like as you mentioned, I was saying the moment you went for the shave, you just sent me a picture of it, and I was like, "Whoa, you look great." And then I was like, "Wet shave." But it took time for you to pluck up the courage to do it.
Well, I mean, because I'm, like I said, I'm just not very good at shaving, and even now, I mean, I have to go with a separate mirror. You guys just check with your hands, right, to see if you've got it all.
Yeah.
I have to go with like a separate mirror, and there's always like 3 or 4 spots that I've missed. So I need to get better at my game. But yeah.
You'll pick it up.
I mean, we'll probably talk about beards at another point, but have you ever tried to rock a beard?
Who, me?
Yeah, like more than this.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I've grown. I've not got to Ben's level. I think during lockdown, I just let it grow out a bit more. But for me, it's I don't feel I can grow it full enough. Like my partner, she always says that, you know, it looks really nice and you should keep it. And my nan loves it. I mean, my nan thinks I'm the most handsome person on the planet. She thinks I'm like Ryan Gosling or something. But she was like, "Oh my God, you look so handsome. You should keep the beard." But again, I didn't feel it suited me. I felt like it was still quite bum fluffy, but again, that's just an insecurity, I guess.
You see, for me, I can't be without my beard now. If I shave it off, it's like, it was like you probably felt when you first shave your head. I feel completely naked without it. And for me, it does suit me more than not having a beard. And lots of people have sort of said that. And it kind of, I feel that it balances my face a bit more. Whereas when I don't have it, I feel like just completely naked. But yeah, so I've just carried on rocking it.
Do you care? Do you groom it? Do you care for it with product at all? Or
yeah, I mean, a little bit. Probably not as much as I should. And I trim it myself. It actually needs a trim. But yeah, I do it all myself. So it takes longer than it does my hair, or head.
It grows nice though, yours does. You know, like some people's facial hair, like it goes, comes out in like all directions. Yours just seems to fall nicely.
A lot of thought process and stroking gone into it.
Right. Okay. Is that the trick?
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe if I give it another world, I'll just sit there thinking all the time.
I'd like to see it, Rich. I want to see. You should document your beard journey and let us know how it goes.
I should try and go for it.
Yeah, go for it and let us know how it goes.
Okay.
What would you say to anyone that's still watching this video and that is kind of thinking about braving the shave but not sure? Maybe they're, you know, in their late teens, early 20s. They're a bit worried about what everyone else is going to think. What advice would you guys give to them at this point?
My advice would be, or my experience would be, the key was I just stopped worrying about it after it was done and not long after. It's just that I don't know if that's going to be translated to everyone else, but it's so liberating to do it. And it just leaves you where you're always then going to be. You know, there's nothing more to worry about. So it's liberation would be what I would say. But I mean, that's my circumstances. Like I said, I did it at an older age, so I don't know if you can really translate to that. But that's my key takeaway and what I would tell people.
What about you, Rich?
I would just say, you know, you'll know when you're ready. I think in hindsight, for me, you know, it was just about building the confidence up about my appearance in general. You know, I've always felt like I've dressed well. So that wasn't necessarily something I felt I needed to improve on or anything like that. It was just, you know, I've always been quite a skinny guy. So looking back, you know, I think I would have, you know, worked out a bit more, because that was another worry that I had, was that I'd look ill, like poorly. Like I think somebody messaged you, didn't they, after you shaved your head, and was like, "God, are you all right? You know, are you ill?" And you know, that's what I worried about. So looking back, I'd say to everyone, you know, make sure that you're comfortable as yourself, and then go for it. Because of everything T just said, like when you're at that point that you're comfortable in your appearance, and you know, you can take that shave, it is only going to be like liberating.
Yeah, I think that's good advice. And you don't necessarily need to reach straight for the wet shave. You can start to cut it a bit shorter each time, maybe.
Oh yeah, 100%.
See what works for you. See whatever makes you the most comfortable is obviously the best solution. So And obviously, if there's anyone else watching, then if you feel like, you know, asking us, reaching out to us directly, you can send us a message on Instagram. We'll do our best to get back to you. And yeah, thanks for all the support. It means a big deal. Getting all of your messages and likes keeps us going. So yeah,
blown us away how many people have got in contact, and you know, the messages that we've got saying thank you and stuff. Like it means the world. You know, this is exactly why we started the platform, was to, you know, how bodybuilding bros.
Yeah, man. Well, yeah, if you guys have enjoyed this video, please drop us a like, subscribe, share it with your mates, anyone who might be suffering. And yeah, check out our Instagram, which is BLD.BRO. Thanks a lot for watching, and we will see you next week. Cheers, guys.
Take care.